Good morning. Welcome to Pries Capital. You must be the new recruit.
Oh, is this the new recruit?
Yes, it is.
Awesome. Follow me, Mr. Superstar. Here at Pries Capital, we love showcasing art. This stunning bronze dragon sculpture, Kiko, by the renowned artist Nano Lopez, is definitely a showstopper. And these pieces on the walls, the legendary Michael Godard is practically a rock star in the art world. There's art all over the office, creating a vibrant, creative atmosphere to work in and collaborate in. And here is Tyler Pries, our hardworking mortgage loan officer. If you're looking to purchase real estate in the Myrtle Beach area, Tyler's the guy to know.
Looks like you have your hands full. Ashlyn, can you grab a book for him? And I'll see you at the meeting.
And here's Raj, one of Jason's right-hand guys for commodities trading. Good morning, Raj.
Good morning.
Meet the new recruit.
Hi. Hope you like to work hard and play hard. This is a high-stakes environment. Split-second decisions can make or break an opportunity. Welcome to the firm.
Don't worry about Raj. He's a quiet powerhouse, but he's critical to everything we do here. And here's the founder and real estate powerhouse herself, Tina Pries.
Good morning. How are you? So glad to have you with us. Can't wait to see you in action. We're just about ready to start the meeting for Jason's market analysis. I will see you both in the conference room.
Good morning, Jason. This is the new recruit.
Hey, welcome. We're glad to have you here. Your skill set is exactly what we need. I love people dedicated to their craft. But hey, I got to get ready for this morning's analysis, so I'll see you in a bit.
Thanks, Jason. You're awesome. Right here, we have one of our many conference rooms. And down the hallway over here, we have the intelligent and sharp-eyed Miss Jill.
Why, thank you, Ashlyn. Nice to meet you.
Jill thrives in the world of spreadsheets, balance sheets, and financial forecasts.
You'll fit right in, so go check out your new office.
And here's your new office. And over here, we have some welcome goodies for you. Just a small thank you of saying welcome to the family. Okay, so I've got to get ready for the meeting, but check out the gym over here, grab some coffee and bagels in this room to the right, then I'll meet you in the conference room.
Good morning. Thanks for joining us. Go ahead, take a seat. Welcome back to another morning market analysis. Let's get comfortable and dive in.
This descending channel isn't here to make our lives easy, so don't let it chop you up before the real move begins. The bears have stepped back in, and the S&P 500 has officially shifted into a two-sided environment. These are conditions that punish traders who chase, hesitate, or guess. But if you know how to read the rotation and learn and lean on structure, a choppy market quickly becomes a paycheck. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another Team Day Trader edition of the Daily Market Analysis. Let's settle in, grab some coffee, and let's prepare for the final session of the week. As always, take a moment to subscribe and explore the resources linked in the description below. Really quick, I'd like to give a shout out for anybody who's in the chat. I see that Robert's in the chat right now, so I always like to do the morning shout outs if I notice anybody says good morning. Good morning. Let's get right into it. I try to change some formats up here where we just get right into the charts, right? Like that. I mean, most anybody here, if you're here, right? As we're day trading. So I don't know how much I'm gonna keep on going back to and talking about the market overview complements of Y charts, but I want to start doing where we just right from the get-go open up to the market analysis. If any of you guys, hey, good morning, James. Good morning, Earl. If anybody of you guys know or are clients, right, you guys get this shipped out as I finish it. So, you know, I write these early in the morning, so I always timestamp this stuff. So when I wrote this at 7 a.m. in the morning, right, we were down 5.5 points. We are now up 29.5 points. So, right, that's a big difference. This skew, the overnight skew, is basically flat at negative 0.61. Anything less than 2% volume delta, overnight skew volume delta, is really nothing to be, there's nothing too much into it. In fact, with this last push up in the last hour, I'd probably say that's, might even be flat to even positive skew. Again, maybe one of these times, if we got time, I'll show you guys how I calculate this skew. I know one time I talked about it before, and we just didn't have time, and I didn't get to it. So I know sometimes I get people who ask, what this is, how do I figure it, and what that all means. But we don't have time for an education session today. We are opening in balance, and the 10-day ATR, again, this is huge, where we're sitting right now at about 111 points. I mean, hopefully anybody killed it yesterday. That was perfect setup yesterday, and what a run. I mean, basically from the top to the bottom, there was like 250 points there to skim off. Woo! That was priceless. So, with the 111 points for average range, you guys, that should be really good. You guys, there's plenty of time to get rewarded on rotation. So, things to note this morning, right? Big story. And we'll talk about this as we get into the trigger chart. And maybe I can open up. Well, I got some black space right here, right? So, the one thing, whenever you see a big move, right? And this could be both on the top side or the bottom side. And we talk about this all the time, but I feel sometimes I got to reiterate a lot of things. So whenever there's a big move, and in this case, let's give context. There's a big move down, right? Huge move down. The one thing I hope that as traders, you pause and think, right? Whenever you get a big move, there's only 3 ways this thing moves, right? So you either get a spike in channel, right? And then what is the market context when it's a spike in channel, right? You rotate lower as it makes the channel down. And so, right, you'll make a series of lower lows and lower highs. And this will be grinding action. Now, you'll get a big move, or you're going to get a sideways action, right? So, what is it sideways? So, right, it rotates this way where you get equal highs and equal lows. Equal highs, equal lows. Or you're going to get a flag set up where, right, you get a big move down, and then it flags or pulls back, right? And how does that rotate, right? So it rotates like this in fashion. So now you're going to get this big move in one direction, and then it pulls back in a flag pattern where, the move is down, and then you're going to get these smaller series of higher highs and higher lows as it pulls back, right? And that's it. Like 3 ways this market moves. So whenever you look at a chart and you see a big day like yesterday, right? You come into the next day, that should be the first thing on your mind. Is it 1, 2, or 3 as far as the pattern, right? And so now when I came into the market at 7 a.m., this looked, and we'll show you, we'll look at this, but it looked like number 1, where we had a big move down spike, and then we were making a series of lower lows and lower highs, lower lows and lower highs. Now, around 7:30, one of the Fed speakers, I think it was Williams, if I'm not mistaken. I think Williams came out and then again talked about interest rate cut, and we'll look at that on the probabilities. And so now it looks like we're flattening out into, what was or had the look of a descending channel into more of, the second pattern, which is more of a range. So we're going to look at that. We're going to dial that in real tight. But hopefully that's simple. Again, I talk about this all the time. Trading is on a spectrum, right? You got easy and you got hard. And I try to make trading fun. 1, you should have fun playing this game. And then 2, you got to think about it as getting as close to easy as possible, right? And so don't try not to get yourself caught up in the quick movements on like a minute chart or a 2-minute chart, right? Just kind of back up a little bit. You know, hopefully that's what these live videos in the morning are, to help you, right? This is what I do on a day, every day, and right, it's a rinse and repeat, and right, I try to lead by an example. So I'm trying to give you guys my routine. You know, I call this like the trader mind map in the mornings. It's a morning routine that I do. So anyways, ranting. So we're going to talk about my trade plan. I'm looking at this, my trade plan centers around day trade setup number 5. And then when I wrote this at 7 o'clock, I was thinking day trade setup number 5, that's how I'm going to come into this market. And then, right, it'll be shifting into 6, but now that where we're trading at, this is not going to be 6. I'm more or less going to be thinking day trade setup 3. So 5 is the play, is how I'm coming in, and then I'll be moving to 3. So Earl, I can we can talk about that. We'll talk about that, about the right, getting the copy of the morning analysis in the morning. So anyways, sorry. Every so often I check back on the chat stream here and try to answer whenever I see a question pop up. Levels to watch, and we're going to look at this on chart number 2, right? Your hourly chart, my chart 2. We're going to be looking at that 65.86 to 65.94, which is exactly where we're trading in right now. So we're going to, again, as I wrote this at 7, this was the level that was really the resistance area, and I'll exactly show you why I'm looking at these levels. And again, anything, if the buyers are going to take this up and we get this kind of move instead of the sideways move, right, then we're going to make a series of higher highs and higher lows, and they'll crack this 65.94. If it's like this and we get sideways, then this 65.86 to 65.94 is going to be in play. And then as we head into today, right, again, as long as this trade setup sets up correctly for 5, then I'm really going to be watching for this reaction level of 65.25.75, and I'll show you again why that's going to be important. And then as we close the week, right, do we close above 6,600 or 65? Again, there's 100 points in there of range, right? So that should be doable in today. So with that said, we're not going to go over too much on the Y chart, so we're going to skip that. I do want to talk about this because this has changed from yesterday, right? Big nuance. We had non-farm payrolls come out yesterday. You know, this is 2 months ago. So what was it? September's came out yesterday. And right, the odds changed from, this was like, well, right, it was like 70, this was like 39% over here, right? You can see down here yesterday. It was a 39%, and this was basically, right, like 60%, that they were going to, you know, keep rates the same. And now after yesterday, 1 day later, right, markets have shifted, and we're back to, right now, it's a 60% chance of a hike in December, and then 35% probability that they stay the same. So again, this is fluctuating. The other thing that a little nuance yesterday from today is the series have changed, right? So we got one cut either on December or first quarter of 2026. There's going to be a second cut end of first quarter, beginning of second quarter, and then a third cut, and then we got, now we're a probability of a fourth cut, and then, you know, we get into 2027 and we get a hike. So we get back down into, right, 3 to 3.25%. So this after yesterday really changed dynamically. So again, If you guys are with me every day, I pop this up. Every day I pop this up as I watch how market participants are forward-looking thinking and what their probabilities, how they're placing what I call bets, right? I mean, these people, we are all placing bets with real money. So I don't know. Anybody wants to call it something sexier than that, you can call it whatever you want. You know, this is just a game of bets and probabilities. So anyways, this is what the market's pricing in. And so again, it's what is the market pricing in? What is the unknown unknowns? You know, these are the edges, you know, that you can kind of take advantage of. So I'm really watching that very carefully. I thought that was interesting nuance, being that those non-farm payrolls, and they really changed the market dynamic off of that yesterday going into today. So that said, let's get on with the charts. A couple things I want to, we always start from a high level. A few things is this NVIDIA, right? That gap and fail on earnings, that is very bearish. If we go back to, say, Microsoft, right? When Microsoft did that way back here in, I don't know, what is this, July? So, you know, when they had the big, right, it gapped up and failed, that earnings gap failed. You could see as, right, market participants, like, it just days after, right, just kind of failed. You know, so it's that failure on those gap and fails that really just bring in a little bit more selling pressure as time goes on. And then obviously, right, there's a 2-try failure, and then, right, we're below this inflection low. And this is Microsoft. So again, as we now go back to NVIDIA, right, this is yesterday's, you know, as we talked, right, you had the gap up, fail, right? And so I would take a high probability stance that this is going to, you know, just keep on muddling lower as time goes on, similar to like Microsoft. So again, just in the back of your head. So and again, as NVIDIA is highly weighted in the markets, all these top weight markets, they're going to drag and pull, you know, kind of the index down. So those are things in the back of my head. I just want to point these things out, that as we as we're constantly moving forward, these are things. So, you know, obviously yesterday, that, you know, basically going from, we opened up and we were like 125 points higher to then 100 points lower. I mean, you're like 250 points in range. That was a big massive sell-off yesterday. So, yeah, bears are definitely in control. How does that play out into today? Let's switch it to, right, the hourly chart. And we look at volume distributions. Sorry. Gotta move the crayons. So, when we were looking, I'm going to zoom this in a little bit, but we have this low volume node right here. That's where this is where, right, we got this distribution. And then obviously, as we talked about yesterday, we have this big, larger distribution, right? And we're trading right in here. We're trading right in between these two LVNs. This LVN and this LVN, right? We're trading in between here. So this 65.86 and the 65.94 area, right, becomes very important, because this should hold, and then we fall back down and we're building out this distribution. So again, you can, I say the word distribution, and what you should think of is, another way to describe it is, somebody could describe it as you're trading one trading range, right? You trade in a range, and then you fall out of it and you go to a different range, right? And then you're trading this range, and then you fall out of it, and then you move to a different range, you know, or the buyers buy it back up and you get back up into this trading range, and then you start making right? You go from one distribution or one trading range to another. That's usually, it's like these steps that the market takes. One step to the next step, moving forward. So, that's what we're looking at. And I call these, some people call them trading ranges. I call them distribution nodes. So we're trading one distribution node into another. You'll mess around in that trading range, which is you're developing the distribution node, back and fill, and then, right, you'll stick around in a certain area, and then you'll leave that area. So with yesterday's big move, right, we were talking about this distribution, back in and fill, possibly some of this, and then they just dumped it, right? So market participants just sold that off. We're not even interested in this area as of right now, and we fell below into this bottom area. And so that's what, right, that's where we're looking, is as we open up today, right, gauging tempo, gauging context, right? Where is it that where does price get pulled to? Price is either going to get pulled to this distribution down here, or it'll get pulled right back up into this distribution. So those should be things that you should just keep in your mind and, right, play accordingly. So if we do that, let's now look into a little bit. Let's go to here. Again, we look at these charts every day. This is the weekly profile. So this was last week's profile. And this is this week's developing profile, right? So what do we see on the charts? Right? We see that we do know about that high volume node of the 6670, going back to that chart that I just showed you. That is still a, right, developing point of control. And what we're seeking today is, does this get sucked back up into that distribution, or do we, right, is there price discovery for lower prices? I'm under the impression, or the way I'm trading, again, day trade type 5, is I am looking at the market seeking lower prices. So I'm under the impression, the way that this is playing out after yesterday's range, again, thinking spike down in channel or spike in range, right, that there's more downside movement. Now we did take out, and we'll look at that, where we took out, right, on a daily chart, you had yesterday's candle, and then we already took out in the overnight, right, that low. So again, when we're thinking time, one time framing, what are we doing? We're making lower lows and lower highs, right? So we took out yesterday's low a day. Low a day is 65, 50, 50, right? So that got taken out. We made a low of 65.25 in the overnight session. So again, we made a lower low. So as we move into today, was that the lower low? And that was the low. And obviously we're not going to come back and take out yesterday's high. That's going to be unrealistic. But what it could be realistic is this gets sucked back up into that 66.70. It's a possibility of a trade. I'm not going to be trading for that. I'm more looking for this look or this look more than I am looking at it like this. Right now, if it's this ends up being the trade and it's a flag pattern, then yeah, we're gonna, that could rotate easily all the way up to 66.70. At this moment in time, as I'm talking to you and we're playing this game in real time, this is not necessarily, that's not my base case. That's not how I'm looking at it. Now I will be looking for it as, if my trade fails, that's how it's gonna fail. It'll be a flag pattern up. But as of right now, I'm thinking a descending channel / range. And again, this is just context to give you guys context of, how that's going to play out. So with that said, I don't have anything. This is an hourly chart. Again, looking at it, this week's hourly chart, again, we're right here. And again, we had that spike down, right? It was channeling here in the early morning, and now with this morning, right, that pop from, I want to say that whole reaction was from Fed Chair or Fed Governor Williams, if I'm not mistaken. Somebody could probably, place a comment, said that I'm wrong. But now with this being an equal high, I'm more thinking more of a spike in range, right, where we open up and then this rolls back over and you're going to make these equal lows. You probably get like maybe a little bit of a trap low here and then come back up. We'll talk about that on the trigger chart as we get into the setups. So, yeah. In fact, why don't we just do that? Why don't we just move right onto the trigger chart? Bring my markers over. Oh, let's just bring them over here. So there's a lot of space. And I want to zoom this in. Okay. Spike into this descending channel, right? Little rotation. And now what are we getting? What are we getting is we're getting this range here. Now, today's Friday. Today's the end of the week. You had a big move yesterday. Not to say that you can't get another big move yesterday. That's what we'll be watching. But what I'll be watching for is this holding up. This will probably open up this morning. We'll chop a little. And then we'll start making our way down. Right? And what I'll be looking for is when we get down here, how does price handle itself at that, as I talked about, that 65, 25, and 3/4, right? So, and I'm going to zoom this in, one more zoom. So I got a little bit of, so I can draw a little bit for you guys. As we get down in here, I'm going to be watching tempo and context, but does this slice through? And then we keep running and we move lower. We'll have to look at levels below. I mean, we're getting down into like I said, does it get below this 6,500? I'll be watching that. That's why I got this like key LVN. There's an LVN there. And if it's strong, right, that this is a target. I'll be targeting that. If it's not strong and this becomes a range in today, I'm really watching this 65, 25. And again, how do bottoms form on a top fast time frame, right? It usually will come down in here and then give a 2 try. 1, 2, right? And then move up. It'll trap. More than likely, it'll trap underneath that low. So you will get a move low. And then this will rotate in today. And then we'll just play in this range between 65, 25, 75 and 65, 92. Thoughts we might get. So yeah, like James says, so Fight Club. So be careful on the Fight Club. There's definitely enough room where you should be able to trade these rotations, right? And even if you want, even being a buyer, right, buying this back up to rotate. But again, your counter trend trading, understand that's a little bit more riskier move than selling up at these highs for another continuation move down, right? Again, always think highs, lows, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. Anytime you are trading against that trend, right, your counter trend trading, it's a little bit more riskier. Now, if the move is strong and we open up in the morning, you have to be very nimble. And if this just kind of comes in here, I'm sure there's going to be some kind of reaction. We're going to get some reaction level out of here. And that's just it. Is you just get like a fake, where buyers are trying to buy it up, but they can't get it. And then there's a liquidation break, almost like where you get day trade setup 7 ignition bar. And then again, you just move and you're moving down into that 6,500. That's going to be the telltale is on this move from yesterday, which was big, right? how much do they push? Today's Friday. It's the end of the week. Again, is it that thing on Fridays where I'm always a person who thinks, this is humans. We're coming in and, right, everybody trades in the morning. And then by the time on a Friday, 1, 2 o'clock comes around, noon, everybody just leaves, right? It's the end of the week, ready for the weekend. And, right, just volumes really taper. And you get some basically chop or Fight Club. Like we always, I describe it as Fight Club. So how does this move? Now, again, Fridays can also get squirrely where people leave and there's low volume and like the move just accelerates big time. A lot of times on the upside, that'll do that where Fridays move they just rip it. Volume slows down. There's not a lot of market participants and it's easy to just move that market. So we'll have to watch how that plays out. But that's what I'll be watching for is, again, day trade set up 5. And then as we move in, does this end up being day trade setup 3? And then, right, we get stuck in this established range, or the, 5 continues. And you're looking at price discovery. And again, that price discovery lower. And then as the day progresses, as we close, going into Monday, right, do we get above? Does price close above 6,600? That would be bullish going into Monday, and to look at the charts over the weekend. Or do we get below 6,500? That might really bring in a lot of selling action as we then move into next week. So before I close, I do want to look at one thing. And I'll switch it back over to the dashboard here. And we'll go to the day and weekly chart. Again, when we're looking at this weekly chart, just understand we're right here at the weekly 20-period moving average. And we haven't touched this thing really since we broke out back in that April-May time frame where we broke out. And then we've never touched it. Right there, got close right there, but never touched it, never touched it, never touched it, never touched it. And this is the first real touch. And so this is where what I am looking. And again, I know that we're looking at a weekly chart. Today's Friday, so it's the end of the week. And again, look how this candlestick is forming. That looks pretty good. I mean, if this was 4 o'clock Friday today, later on the day, I could easily see that being like, oh, that's the candle, right? That's the candle for the week. So what we're going to watch for is as this market closes today and as you're trading, in the back of your mind, think of this chart and then this low right here. And again, if we're going to get some major movement, right, we'll want to close this down below if the sellers do. If the sellers want to get major movement, they're going to want to push that below that 6,500, kind of close down in here, or even close right at the lows. And then we're going to go into the weekend and then open up on Monday, right? And then it'll shift over. And then again, does this thing just give away? Or do we rotate back up? And that's the mental picture, right? In the context in which you want to be thinking. So on a weekly chart, right, we're making these highs and lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, As we move into next week, think of if this ends up being a close like this, then it could easily, next week, we could come into the market and, right, it opens up a little bit of a test low, and then we spend next week all inside of this week's range, again going back to this chart, right? And then what are we doing? We're dicking around in here in this, building this out, right? Price gets back up into here, and this ends up being like an inside week, but most of it is chop, and we're we're backing and filling. And then so next week being a holiday and everything else, this just becomes an inside week. And I know I'm getting ahead of myself, but I'm trying to prep you guys as how one thing leads into another and how this market is dynamic and then moves as it marches forward from day, one day to the next. And then looking at how this seems like this volume node does not seem complete, right? It has the look as this needs to fill in, right? Fill in here. So, right, what does that look like on a candlestick is a weekly candle. Going back to the dashboard. A weekly candle of an inside bar. And it's a holiday weekend. So that's very plausible. What I would say it's a highly probable trade. So, I would not, for anybody who's watching this, we see in a day like yesterday, I would just be nimble, and I would not go into this like, oh my God, yesterday sold off, it's the end of the world, and we're going to have another, 250 point range selling today. That's not how I see the market at all playing out. So, I mean, if I'm wrong, then, everybody can just hate on me and throw nasty comments in the chat, but I'm more looking at it's Friday, it's the end of the week, next week's holiday weekend or holiday week, Thanksgiving, and I'm more seeing this market, still moving lower as time goes on, right? We got going into December, but I would watch how today plays out, right? Watch tempo. But really day trade type 5, moving into day trade type 3, and then watch, and then as we close, and how do we close? Do we close in and around the 6,600 or 65? So that's it. I mean, other than that, I don't want to keep on beating a dead horse. Hope you guys have a great day trading today. Right? We'll just do the as per the usual. If you guys are in and around Myrtle Beach, you guys want to come on to the office, if you're a trader, if you're here on vacation, if you live around here, we have office space available. Right? Come on in, trade with us. Office number, you can email if it's trading related. You can email info@teamdaytrader.com. If you're a trader and you're just looking for resources, teamdaytrader.com is our website. If you're looking at real estate, investment research, portfolio construction, priescapital.com. And other than that, have a great weekend, and we'll see you guys Tuesday morning, same place, same time. As always, learn, trade, profit, and we'll see you.